Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the best animated shows ever, so far, with MC and Troy.
I'm Troy.
And I'm MC.
And this is still the show that doesn't have a name because it's the exact same day that we've recorded the other 2 episodes of it that exist so far. I don't know why I keep thinking about, I keep imagining that the name is going to come to me as I do the intro. Oh, I forgot to tell you. An animated discussion already exists. It's a Batman animated series podcast that I listened to a couple of episodes of. So, you said that, and I was like, yeah, that sounds really good. And then while I was getting water, I was like, wait a minute. And then I looked it up, and yeah, it's already a thing.
Well, that's why we need to append to it.
Yeah.
Put something
I
else on
was
it,
trying to think of I thought of historical documents popped into my head, but that doesn't really work. An animated discussion of historical documents. An animated discussion. I got nothing. I don't know.
The only other thing that I came up with was a hero dissemination.
Animated discussion and heroic discourse.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know. We'll come up with something.
We'll keep throwing names back and forth until we get one.
Hey, you, person in the future who's listening to this, if you're listening to this, what's our show called? Because you know by now, and we don't.
What's even worse is I'm 16 hours in the future from you already.
Oh, God, don't do that to me. No. Wait, is it Sunday for you?
Yep.
No. Oh, it can't be.
I just spoke Troy.
No. Today we're discussing episode 3 of the Japanese superhero anime My Hero Academia. Episode 3 is called Roaring Muscles, which I will try to say muscles every time and not muscles because I hate how the word muscles is spelled and I really want to say muscles. This episode came out in April 17th, 2016 in Japan and May 19th, 2018 in America. And I guess I'm going to establish this right off the bat on episode 3, as if people won't already know this. But MC actually watched this with subtitles, and I watched dubs. So there are a couple places where that makes a difference. I don't know if there are in this episode, but I think it's kind of interesting that's distinct, that there's differences between the two. I
mean, it kind of does, but it's little differences, like words that are said.
Yeah,
or
it doesn't make a large difference, but I think we did figure out that the character names are used differently in the subtitle version versus the dubbed version.
Well, also because I know of Japanese naming convention, so I know that the family name is first, and then it's the given name.
Yeah, and I think the dub version uses the given name more, whereas the sub version uses the family name more, I think is what we figured out.
No, it's the other way around. Yeah. Because so I think because it's first, they tend to, but the Western dub version want to use the family name as the character name or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Does Goku have a family name and a given name? He's just Goku, right? And Gohan.
He's just Goku. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So on that show, they were like, we just don't want to mess with this. We're just going to give everybody one name so no one will get confused by it.
Well, that's not true. Chi-Chi. Yeah, just messed with your mind again.
That was dumb. That was dumb. All right, this episode, Roaring Muscles, opens with a montage about All Might and his impact on the world. All Might is kind of the all-American superhero in Japan. His exact quirk isn't known to anybody. He's super strong. He seems to be able to fly. He seems pretty much invulnerable. We know that he's not invulnerable, but it seems like the public perception is that he is. He's the most popular hero in the world, and he lowers crime rates just by being there. Just his pure existence brings the crime rates down. Back in the alley, Izuku can barely contain himself that his hero has acknowledged that it's possible for him to become a hero himself even without a quirk. Quirk? A quirk. Kind of. I feel like this is a bit of a cop-out. We'll talk about it in a minute here. But it turns out that All Might doesn't think he can be a hero without a quirk. He's just saying that he can give him a quirk, because it turns out that All Might's quirk isn't an ability he was born with. It's a power called One for All that was passed on to him, and that he is deemed Izuku is worthy of inheriting next. What's cool about this power, to me, and what I'm interested to get your take on, is that One for All is a power set instead of being a power, and it's a power set that apparently grows. So he talks about that, like, each person who uses it adds to the power and then passes it on to the next person.
So what happens is, I'm guessing that it gets past to people with quirks,
right,
as well as people like without quirks, but it's sort of like the innate strength of whatever that person was gets a little bit of whatever that was gets added to this power as it's passed down generation to generation. So
that's my assumption too.
Yeah, like it gets stronger as it goes on. So
it takes what I think is that it takes the capital Q quirk from the person who has it, but it also can take lowercase q quirks from the people who inhabit it and pass that on as well. So like the thing that makes me think this is All Might, when he's in his super bulky mode, has like a voice like this. Like he's almost the Tick when he's in his bulky mode.
Oh, yeah.
And when he's not in All Might mode, when he's in J Muse mode, he doesn't have that personality. So my headcanon, at least, is that like that voice and embodiment is a lowercase q quirk from a previous owner, inhabitant, I don't know what to call it, but somebody who had One for All before had that boisterous personality, and that's now part of the power set, is kind of taking on that boisterous personality.
I think they touch on that a bit in like season 2 or 3, but I don't think I think it's only season 2's out. But yeah, like they don't really talk about like previous holders of All for One all that much. Okay. Like they touch on it every now and then, and but so far I haven't really been like they haven't fleshed out previous owners of this. So, but the focus is sort of like what it is now, rather than what. So it
they
was
don't go
in the
back
past.
to like the Temple of the Avatar and see statues of all of the people who've had One for All before.
No.
Or anything. Okay, because I definitely have been getting Avatar vibes from this show, from Spike so far. That's where I've really picked up Avatar vibes. Is that I'm like, you're a villain, but I can tell that you're gonna do some stuff where I'm gonna be like, you're not that bad. Like you're gonna come around, and maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But I've had that vibe from him, just like I had from the dude in Avatar whose name I can't think of right now.
I'm pretty sure
Zuku. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure they're setting it up like more to do with past incarnations of the hero who had One for All, because they talk about it a bit later on, but in this episode there's none of that.
Yeah,
so
we get like a montage where like you get flashes of like I think silhouettes of like,
there's silhouettes and it's like light, and there's like I think he doesn't even discuss how the power's made at this point. No, he doesn't.
No, not that I recall, at least.
No.
Let me go back to my notes real quick.
It doesn't. I'm pretty sure.
I do have a note here that just says in all capital letters the Dread Pirate Roberts, because his powers reminded me of the Dread Pirate Roberts from Princess Bride. It's the name that matters. No one was gonna surrender to the Dread Pirate Wesley. So I was like, is it gonna be like just a self-confidence thing? And no, it turns out we'll find out later that there's actually kind of a gross way that the power gets inherited. It's not.
So that's the one of the things that you didn't tack on to is
it comes up in section 2. It doesn't. He doesn't say that at this point.
Oh, he doesn't?
Oh. He just says you'll inherit it. He doesn't. He does not explain how until it's time for. For
they're at the beach.
Izuku to start inheriting. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, like that first sequence is just him explaining how this power gets passed down, and it's it's sort of like this really strong quirk because it keeps building on itself each time it's passed to a new person.
And I did think this was interesting combined with that montage that plays at the beginning, because they talk in the montage about how crime rates got lowered. Crime rates became lower as soon as All Might came on the scene, which really makes me wonder. And like you said, it sounds like maybe this is something that they're building towards in the show overall, is like, who had the power right before All Might, and why were they doing such a bad job with it that when he showed up, it immediately caused crime rate to drop? Because
and he becomes the symbol of peace.
Yeah. So was the person who had it before him just a complete unknown? Were they bad at using the power? Were they evil?
No.
Oh, well, fine. You just shut that down. I thought that was an interesting hook. Maybe it turns out a bad guy had it.
So it's sort of like what's happening with All Might and Deku is there's this mentorship that's going on, and he's gonna pass his power onto this kid, and you kind of get the feeling later on that the same thing happened to him. Yeah,
that was the impression that I got. But yeah, I think.
But that doesn't happen until like I think the training montage and that bit. Like you don't get that feeling until then. So if I'll jump into explaining this next bit, so we can get talking about that. So All Might actually comes out and explains how 140 is to be passed on to him. He's got to prepare his body. If he doesn't prepare his body, apparently, when passing this power onto him, his limbs might explode off his body. And,
just pop.
Yeah, I reckon it's the best thing. It's like, what? My limbs might pop off.
Yeah, you didn't tell me that was a risk before I signed on to this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you finish this section.
No, it's fine. All Might takes him to it's Takoba, Seaside Bay, and explains that he must clean the entire beach within the next 10 months to prepare and strengthen his body to take on this power of One for All. And it's also one of the first steps to becoming a true hero, which is doing some community service. And in this bit, they have a small discussion on why the beach is so messy, and it's like things wash up on this beach naturally, but also the locals tend to come down and dump stuff because there's already rubbish there, so why not just dump a little bit more and not get caught for illegal dumping or whatever.
Yeah.
And then at this point, like as they're getting into this discussion on cleaning up the beach, All Might gives Izuku a training schedule, and he's supposed to follow this training schedule for the next 10 months exactly, so he'll be in the perfect condition to get this power before the exams at the UA High. And what happens is Izuku is caught overdoing it. There's a scene where he's carrying a safe and he's running along, and his body sort of gives out on him. And All Might berates, or he gives him a warning, more like it, that if overdoing it is just as bad as slacking off, and you can do your body real harm. And it's at this point that Izuku has an impassioned speech about just trying his best so he can become the best hero that he can be. And All Might, he sort of like hears what the kid's saying, but he's like, but if you hurt yourself before you can do this, you're not gonna make it. So we're gonna organize your schedule and get you back on the right path. And then it cuts to a training montage of him obviously following this new schedule perfectly and not overdoing it.
Yeah. I like the task that he gets here. I like that he has to clean up the beach, because there's a couple things I like about it. One is that the community service angle on it is kind of cool. I feel like it's basically acknowledging that he has to work. It's training his body as well as like his spirit, I guess, for lack of a better word, because he's doing something that is good for the community. And like All Might says, that's a really important part of being a hero. So I like that it's not just going to the gym and working out. It's actually like making a difference as part of his training to receive the power to be a hero. I think it's a cool way to do that.
I agree. Like it shows a sense of responsibility about your community as a hero.
Yeah.
And how heroes should be.
Yeah. And then on top of that, Izuku kind of simultaneously fails and succeeds at heroism by not following the schedule that was laid out for him. So he's kind of failing by not doing what he was told and not like being honest about it right away. But he's succeeding because he's working so hard because it's really important to him to be able to do this. And Izuku doesn't want to be a hero to be famous, which is what Spike wants. Izuku wants to be a hero to help people. So it's like, it's good that you're working this hard. Like, that's a good thing. But also, like you said, like it's like a weird message in the middle of this kids show about like, but don't overdo it, kids. Like,
yeah, no,
I thought that was weird,
it's
but
really
cool.
No, but this probably has a lot to do with a thing that happens in Japan, where
yeah, that's true.
A lot of these students are burning themselves out by trying way too hard, and there's a high rate of suicide and stuff among these kids and stuff these days because they're trying so hard and failing.
Yeah,
and they're failing because they're overworking
because
themselves.
They're burning themselves out.
Yeah,
yeah. I guess that I have heard that's an issue in Japan, and I mean, I'll proudly speak for all Americans here and say that there's not too much of an issue with American kids working too hard. We're pretty much okay not working too hard. But that's maybe that's why that stood out to me, because I was like, that's a weird message to give to kids. But like you said, it may be a cultural thing that in Japan it's actually a much more relevant like public service announcement in the middle of this kids show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I like that. Another thing that comes up in this that I kind of like is that the first thing we see of Izuku training is trying to drag a fridge with All Might sitting on top of it.
Oh yeah.
Which there's a couple great things that happen in this moment. The first is like All Might just he throws so much shade because he's like, come on, dude, people without powers do this all the time. And he's like, yeah, but you're like 600 pounds sitting on top of the fridge.
No, he's 274 kilograms.
Well, in the dub, he's like 600 pounds. That's weird that they changed that for sub to dub. I mean, it makes sense, but
and
yeah.
Then All Might actually in the sub version says, "I've actually lost some weight. I'm only 255 kilograms." Yeah.
He did the same thing in the version that I watched, where he's like, "Well, normally I would be that much, but right now I'm actually a little less." But then he also takes pictures of him as Izuku's like, like, God, this hurts so bad, and then that comes up again later on, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we have your spiraling out in this section, right? That you were talking about last episode.
Yeah. It actually happens when he gets the schedule.
Yes, that's right. So he's like going through his schedule of like how much work he has to do on the beach and how much he can get done in a day. And this is when he's, we'll say, adjusting to be nice. The schedule, right? When he's like figuring out how to game the system and do more than All Might's asking him to.
And then he does it in the classroom. Yeah,
and you literally see like all the words of what he's saying start going around the screen and circling
then he gets
him.
Smacked by his teacher.
Everyone else in class is looking at him like, what is he muttering about? Izuku, he goes on, he has a very strong internal monologue, but he's not good at keeping it internal. That comes up a couple times in this episode where he's actually vocalizing his internal monologue.
And he's muttering.
Yeah, he's a mutterer. A mutterer. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I have anything else on the montage before we get to the end of the montage. I think that's all I've got on that section.
There's the first bit of the montage where it's like he right after he mutters to himself, and then you see him running with the save, and that's when he has his whole overwork thing. But it shows him in class, like, doing hand grip stuff and, like, at home doing weights.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
It's all that stuff. And then every now and then you see him on the beach cleaning some stuff up. And then it has that message of not overdoing it in there. And then it cuts back to the training montage. And it seems like he's doing better now. Like, he's getting a lot more progression now that he isn't overworking himself. And you can kind of see that in that montage as it's happening. Yeah,
I like that it shows that when he was overworking himself, like you said, he's progressing more now. So, like, by overworking himself, he is not working efficiently. He's doing a lot, but it's not efficient. And when he goes back to the schedule, things fall into place better.
Yeah.
Which I guess takes us to the next section, right?
Yeah.
So the end of the montage is the day of the UA entrance exam.
6 a.m.?
Yeah, early on that day. And Izuku's down at the beach. And all through the montage, I was kind of lamenting that I'm like, I can see, like, by what they're showing him doing that he's progressing, but he still looks real scrawny. And then in this scene, they're like, oh, you thought he was scrawny. That's just because he had a t-shirt on, because on this scene, he's like standing on top of the last of the garbage, bellowing at the sky with his shirt off, and dude is ripped now. And All Might shows up and is like, holy smokes, not only did you clean the beach, you actually cleaned more of the beach than I originally told you to do so. And also, check it out, dude, you're like super buff now. You are totally ready to start inheriting my powers without exploding your limbs off. And this is where we find out that the way that the powers are going to be inherited, it's not like handing off the Eye of Agamotto and you suddenly become Sorcerer Supreme. I just read a comic where that happened earlier today. In order for Izuku to inherit One for All, he has to not
ingest.
Consume, not
absorb.
Absorb's probably the best word. The DNA of All Might. He has to take it into his body, and he does that by All Might plucks out a single hair. And Izuku.
Yep.
He eats it. It's gross. So then we cut to the high school. Izuku's getting to the high school. He's kind of bouncing between like the self-doubt that has been a part of his character for so long, and then self-confidence because he knows he's worked so hard, and then doubt because he knows that he ate some weirdo's hair and so far hasn't even seen what effect it's had, but confidence that it's All Might's hair and surely it's going to be good for him. And then he trips because he's still kind of a loser. And as he's falling, he gets caught by a telekinetic girl who's like super happy and bubbly and excited. And isn't this great? It's so cool. Sorry I didn't ask permission to use my powers, but I figured it'd be okay since you were about to faceplant. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. And Izuku is super pumped with himself because he finally talked to a girl. And I assume on the version you watched as well, it pops up and says, note, he didn't actually talk to the girl.
Yes,
which
it did.
I love it. Inside at the entrance exam, a DJ hero, I guess. His superpower is DJing. His name is Present Mike. He explains the candidates are going to go through 2 tests. There's a written test, but that's boring. Who cares? What's interesting is the practical test, where they're going to be separated into groups, ideally with strangers. So like Spike is there as well, but he and Izuku are in different groups. and they're going to battle robot villains to earn points. And this is the practical part of the exam. He talks about 3 different villains that are in each section and that each one's worth a different amount of points. And then a disgruntled student stands up and is like, the pamphlets say there's 4. You say there's 3. What's going on? This is supposed to be the best school. I'm so disappointed in this school. And also, Izuku is muttering to himself, and I hate him. And President Mike's like, cool your jets. There are 4 robots, but the 4th isn't worth any points. So just don't even worry about that. I'm sure it's not going to be important in the coming storyline. Like maybe, here's my guess, one of the robots that's worth 0 points is going to endanger someone's life and Izuku has to defeat it, even though it's not worth any points, but then he gets secret bonus points. Don't tell me if I'm right. That's just my prediction. And then the episode ends as Izuku and his battle group, which includes the frustrated guy who was just yelling at him and the telepathic girl, are at their battle zone. They're about to go in. And the episode ends.
I want to make one thing clear.
Okay.
It's not clear that the girl's power is telepathy.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I was shorthanding.
He's
falling
when he's tripping over, and he's falling, and she touches him, and he sort of starts falling slower.
Oh.
If you rewatch the scene, he's still falling.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch that scene real quick.
Which is a hint about her power. But I'm not actually going to tell you what her power is. Okay.
So we're going to do a play-by-play, like that one guy who watched the video of the guy getting eaten by a bear. It'd be better if I could remember what that guy's name was.
But
Werner Herzog, maybe. He's tripping and he says, "Oh, I'll just die," and then suddenly he stops falling, and there's a girl touching him, and he's just kind of floating there, and she lets go, and then he floats in the air for a second and kicks his feet, and then she moves him so his feet touch the ground again. That's interesting. I appreciate you pointing that out, because that's actually a way more interesting display of power than I thought it was, because I thought it was just, telepathy, she caught him, but that seems cooler and more intriguing and more specialized. I like that this show seems to have, for the most part, very specialized power sets.
Yes.
Like Mount Lady gets big. Backdraft controls water. Groot, I mean, he's Groot. There's a lot you can do with Groot, but mostly it's that he can be stretched.
He grows limbs and makes wood stuff.
I like the idea of specialized power sets, except for All Might, who has tons of powers.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's what makes him sort of special. Everyone else seems to have this one quirk that they use in a specific way.
Yeah, and Deku talked, I think it was actually in episode 2, but he talked about how that's been that's the hot buzz on the message boards, is everybody's always speculating about what All Might's quirk is, because I guess the way it's supposed to work in this world is that you have a quirk, and All Might seems to have several, which obviously he does.
And one of the guesses is it's a boost to their already natural ability. It's just boosting his natural ability to do all these things. That's one of the theories that is floated.
Captain America style. He's just the perfect version of athleticism. Yeah. Clearly it's more than that. He punched so hard that he made a storm appear.
Yeah, I know. So it's it doesn't really explain it. It explains how everyone else sees this power. Yeah. Because it has to be a quirk, because everyone has a quirk.
Yeah. MC, if a buff dude plucked out a piece of his hair and said that you could get real swole if you ate it, what would you do?
I'd probably deny him and ask if he could just give me some spit or something.
Really? You'd go for spit over hair?
Oh yeah, or blood.
Blood? I mean,
blood or no. Well, you have to get the DNA somehow.
Yeah.
So here,
I'm just trying to figure out what the least offensive way to.
Well, that's why I'm saying
his DNA
spit.
Would be.
Because the other way is mucus.
I don't want to go there. No.
Urine.
Yeah, that's not. No. Yeah, spit might be.
Poop.
Nope, that's not the one.
Like,
let's not get into what the
hair?
other possibilities are. Y'all can use your
Blood.
imagination. This is a vaguely family-friendly podcast.
No, like, spit is probably the least offensive one out of all of them.
Yeah, I guess. Well, honestly, though, I mean, now that you put it that way, hair doesn't seem so bad because, like,
No.
you know, it's just what, dead protein? Is that what hair is? I
Yeah.
think it's protein, right?
Carrion. Starts with a K.
I think if
or something.
If it was the way that I could get superpowers was to eat someone's hair, I wouldn't just eat it straight though. I think if you like, you know, minced it up into little pieces, put it in a smoothie maybe.
Put it in a sandwich.
Yeah, just sprinkle it on top of the mayonnaise. Like, you won't even know it's there. This is disgusting. I'm sorry that I did this.
Just put it on a sandwich, just the whole hair. Oh, there's a hair in my sandwich.
I guess, yeah, we've all had a sandwich with a hair in it before, and we didn't get superpowers out of it.
No.
Gross.
Yeah.
What do you think of Present Mike?
He's a weird character to be put in at this point. Like, you're not sure how to take him. Like, he seems kind of bombastic when he first shows up. And he's like this very loud, energetic superhero who's explaining all these rules. And you're like, wait, is he just like a DJ? Or, like, is he an announcer? Or what is his job? Like, and then it's like, oh, he's obviously a superhero the way that he's talking about this stuff.
Yeah, and that's what troubles me about him is how is he a superhero?
I mean, it comes up later.
Okay, because that's the thing is, yeah, he seems to have like practical knowledge of superheroing, and I'm like, your powers that you've got speakers in your throat, like, that's not a very interesting superhero power.
I mean, They set up a lot of heroes. At first, you're like, what's their point? And then something happens that makes them relevant, and you're like, oh, okay.
Which kind of fits with what the heroes were talking about in episode 2, where they're like, we don't have the power set for this. We need to wait for somebody with the right power to come along. So, okay. He just struck me as weird. He felt out of place because I think what bothered me is that this is UA and we've been like, this is being built up that like, this is where the people with the best powers go. And I'm like, this dude's the one like running your orientation.
Oh yeah. No, because he's perfect for that job.
I guess he is perfect for running an orientation. He don't need a microphone. He's got it in his voice box.
Also, he's got practical knowledge already because he is a hero.
Okay.
And and he's the one who explains, like, sort of what's expected of him.
Yeah.
But it's like, you feel like he's kind of leaving stuff out when he explains it. Especially with the one... he's like... When he says, like, he talks about the robots, and you hit on, like, your suspicion. Like, when he brings up the 0 Point robot, you feel like he is leaving something out. He's like,
absolutely,
they're roadblocks. You can go. Why bother with them? They're 0 points. Just go around them, find other robots to encounter, and you're like, wait, these are supposed to be villain. There? No. Like, not just that, but these are supposed to be like the villain, like allegory. Like they're supposed to be the villains in this test.
Right, and why would you ever ignore a villain? Like,
exactly. Why is this hero telling these kids to ignore a villain?
Yeah, I was interested in the things he had to say. I was just not interested in him at all. I was just like, you're a little loud right now, and I just need you to tone it down a little bit, Present Mike. Well, just a little bit.
I think he was so loud so the kids wouldn't question him and his authority.
It's kind of
because he's putting up like this sort of smoke screen because, like you caught on, there's something extra going on there. and they're not
but if
talking
he's
about
like
it.
so excited and engaged, you don't really pay attention to the
Yeah.
subtlety of. Okay, I'm back into it. Dang it, MC, I'm back into it. You've pulled me back in.
See, this is what happens when you watch it a second time. Because at the start, I felt the same as you do right now. Like,
okay,
I'm like, he's a bit over the top. Why is he doing this right now? Why is this character here now? Later on, it makes all sense.
okay, I'll trust you because I'm looking. I just pulled up his Wikia page about Present Mike, and I just want to tell you what his quirk is real quick to illuminate why I was so flustered by him. His quirk is voice.
Yep.
Just voice. That's his whole quirk. Just voice. Like, what? What are you doing here? What's your point? Also, interesting factoid. Do you know what color his eyes are?
No.
They're green in the anime, but red in the manga.
Oh.
So, there's that for you. And he's a 30-year-old male. Anyway, he's interesting. I like... He wasn't interesting to me, I should say. I had no interest in him whatsoever. Now that you've talked me through it, I am much more interested in his character. Dang it, MC. I'm going to have to keep watching this show.
Yeah, no, it's so addictive. The other character that's important to this scene is...
Angry Hermione dude?
Yeah.
That's what his name is in my notes. Angry Hermione dude.
Which is perfect. His name hasn't been introduced yet, I don't think. At
Hermione.
this point. So yeah, you calling him Hermione is great because he's like he is sort of like a nerdy sort of rules orientated sort of, hey, can you quit muttering? I'm trying to learn here sort of person.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that he's like, we are the best students in Japan, and we expect the best from this institution, and you say there's only 3 robots, but the pamphlet says there are 4. This is absolutely unacceptable. I was like, take a break, dude. Slow it down a little bit.
It's not quite like that in the sub version, but it's very similar. Like he's like pointing out the fact that he's only talked about 3 robots, but there's 4 in the pamphlet, and there's supposed to be 4, and what's happening with this 4th robot, sort of thing. And then it goes into the explanation about the robots. But after he is like, and that student there,
yeah, he just turns around. He's sitting 5 rows in front of Izuku, and he just turns around and he's like, yeah.
He's been muttering this whole time. That doesn't call out Bakugo for doing the exact same thing, or Spike.
Well, Bakugo's mostly just going like, shut up. Oh. I'm not your friend. I don't want to hang out with you. This isn't his voice at all, but for some reason I decided
stop looking at my notes.
Don't look at my notes. These are my notes, not your notes.
So they both have a card with their student numbers on it. What their class is, like or their group for the practical exam is going to be.
Yeah.
And they're in separate groups because they know each other.
Yeah, which made me wonder, because I know that this is like Japan's elite high school. So presumably there's only a couple of candidates from like each junior high school coming here. But I think they said that there's 4 battle groups. So it's like if there are 5 people from one school, then the whole not being paired up with people you know thing kind of goes out the window. So
yeah, exactly. So
and they don't really go.
I reckon there's probably 1 or 2, maybe 3 at most.
That people who know each other in the same group. I wondered
because
about
the rest
that because they don't talk about this is the entrance exam for the school, but I get the feeling there must have been like prerequisites to even get to the entrance exam for this school.
Oh, so they talk about it. It's the theory test.
Oh, so I thought the written test was going to come later. So they have to do a theory test before getting to this point?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They actually talk about it while they're walking in, when he falls over and all that stuff. They talk about having passed the theory test already and this being the practical.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense then.
Because I'm pretty sure you know the montage the morning of the exam. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a couple of weeks before we catch back up to him here.
Oh, so like the morning of was the morning for the theory exam.
Yeah.
Now they're past that. Okay. That makes sense. I was just wondering about that. I was like, why isn't like everybody everywhere coming to do this practical exam? There must be something that they have to do first, but I guess I just missed it. Cool. I like this episode. I like seeing Deku, Izuku, whatever we want to call him, refine his approach to being a hero. And that actually happens not just automatically through the montage. It happens when he realizes that he has to be deliberate about it, which in this case means following All Might's plan. I think that that's a cool moment because it shows him because doing everything he could is totally an impulse that Izuku from the very first episode would have, is I'm going to do everything I can to do this. And he's needing to learn to like rein it in. And I like that idea. So I think this episode was cool from that perspective, even though like from a story perspective, it's like, I almost wanted this episode to not exist from a story perspective because I'm like, let's get to the school already. Like, okay, he can be a hero. Now let's get to the school because I know it's about the school.
Yeah. Well, the best thing about it actually is during the montage, we both had the same or similar note. It's just like, he's training. There's a montage. He gets scolded by All Might, and then it's like now he's ripped.
Oh yeah. He's suddenly like, at the end is super buff.
Yeah, it's just like these 10 months. You see it happen in like 4 minutes.
Yeah,
and you see this little scrawny kid just become this beast of a teenager almost.
He's so buff at the end.
Yeah,
I guess you know what. You calling out the minutes there made me realize what my issue with this episode was, because I like the character building stuff in this episode, but I don't think I actually liked the episode that much. And I just realized why. This episode was 22 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened with those 22 minutes, because what happened with those 22 minutes is Deku trained a lot. He got real buff. He ate a hair. And then he's at the school for like 4 minutes. And so I'm like, how did that first part take 18 minutes? Like, it feels like for being, it doesn't feel like a lot happened in this episode, even though it covered 10 months of time.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like,
so
somehow the montage was really quick, but also took a long time. And I don't quite understand it.
Oh, because there's scenes at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of the montage.
Yeah.
The montage isn't just a montage. It's like 5 different scenes.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are montages in between 2 other scenes, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a scene happens, and then there's a montage of training, and then we get the scene where he's overworking himself, and then there's another montage of him training. And back at the beginning of the episode, there was the montage about All Might and its impact on the world. So it's like there's a lot of montage. It's important stuff for the story, but it felt like, looking back on it, I'm not. Episode 2 is the one that I'm like, that episode was great, and this episode was fine. I want to see the next one, but I didn't feel like this episode was great.
Here's the thing. I think this episode is very much setting up the rest of the arc.
Yeah.
So this is important for the arc, but it's not necessarily the most exciting episode.
Right. It's not.
It's a fine episode.
It's the prequel to what's going to happen next episode, which was kind of my issue with episode 1, is that episode 1 was okay, but it's great when you connect it with episode 2. And I have a feeling that this will be the same. Like, when I see him actually go do the practical stuff, I'll appreciate this episode more.
So I actually feel this episode isn't just like the setup for the next episode. It's like the setup for the next 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah. I assume where he's going to go next is I think he gets into the school, but I'm guessing the practical exam is probably an episode or two, and then there's probably going to be some character building stuff of getting to know the other students and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to watch more of this. I do.
I'm telling you, it's a great show.
So yeah, how does it rank? It's number one. It's the best. It's the best cartoon ever so far.
So far. Do you want to talk about any of the possible shows that we might be doing in the future?
Why don't you pick 2 shows that you're really excited about doing, and then I'll pick 2 shows that I'm really excited about doing, and then you want to roll a dice out of those 4? You want to do it that way?
Huh? What for?
So you'll pick 2 shows, and I'll pick 2 shows, and then we'll roll a dice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right. You pick 2. I'm gonna find a dice.
Well, I reckon Black and Mice from Mars has to be one of them.
Do you want me to pick one?
Yeah, you pick one, and then I'll pick another one.
I'm gonna do the Mighty Ducks cartoon.
Good choice. I'm actually gonna choose the one that we decided that we really wanted to start this show with, which is Gargoyles.
Nice.
Like when we were coming up for the idea for this show. Yeah. So I reckon Gargoyles should be.
I want to find something not good. Oh, heck yeah. This is so full disclosure, I just Googled worst cartoons and used that to find a list. But Wacky Races was on the list, and I actually like Wacky Races, but that seems perfect.
Yeah, Wacky Races is great. Especially for something like this.
That was such an appropriately timed motorcycle. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Wacky Races would be a weird one to do, but I would be very happy if that came up.
Those episodes are so just disjointed when you watch them.
I know, I was just thinking of trying to summarize Wacky Races. All right, so our list of 4 is number 1 is Biker Mice from Mars, number 2 is Mighty Ducks, number 3 is Gargoyles, and number 4 is Wacky Races. We're going to roll 1 4-sided dice. 1 time. You ready?
Yep.
Can you see?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I shared properly. Here we go. It's a 1.
1.
Biker Mice from Mars. Excellent. Yep. And we're doing the original series, right? Because I know that it returned a couple years ago.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, man. There's new episodes of Biker Mice from Mars on YouTube.
Oh.
Heck yeah.
We might have to do both.
We'll have to research, because I don't know if it's considered a continuation or a separate show. I'm going to check. Biker Mice from Mars. It looks like it is considered a separate show. The original show has 3 seasons from 1993 to 1996. And episode 1 is called Rock and Ride.
Yep.
Hell yeah. That's it for this week. We'll be back next time with episode 1 of Biker Mice from Mars, Rock and Ride.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the best animated shows ever so far. Find the show on Twitter at BaseSFcast or email us at basesfcast@gmail.com. That's BASESFCAST. Our intro music is Funnin' and Sunnin', and our outro music is Motivator, both by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, and licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next time.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
at Probably Work
for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.